We are following breaking news at 6. This is brand new video. Let's listen in.
I just happened to be using the gas can to water the plants.
And then she had trouble getting it open, so eventually she unscrewed the top and threw it to the ground and walked up on the porch and under the rope and started dumping the gasoline on the porch.
This video shows Atlanta police speaking with witnesses following an attempted arson at one of the most well-known and historic homes. Investigators say 26-year-old Lanisha Henderson tried to destroy a piece of Atlanta and American history. People visiting the home acted quickly and detained her. Atlanta News First political reporter Doug Reardon live tonight outside of the Auburn Hills home. Doug, the home is technically a national park. Could the accused arsonist face federal charges?
It's absolutely a possibility. She is already facing a charge of second-degree arson and a state charge of interfering with government property. And you just saw that body cam video. Wait until you see the video that bystanders here took last night as this was going on. If not for them, firefighters say this home, this historic site, would have gone up in a matter of minutes in flames and been reduced to a pile of ashes.
I was just horrified when I saw it.
In her 17 years as a ranger for the MLK historic site, Judy Forte has never seen anything like this.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
That's 26-year-old Lanisha Henderson on Thursday night. Two bystanders from Utah took this video. They were visiting the boyhood home of the famed civil rights leader when Henderson breezed past them and started dousing the historic home with gasoline.
She grabbed a lighter from the grass and started to come back up the stairs. So I stood at the stairs and said, "You can't do this," and blocked her for about a minute.
That's when two off-duty New York City police officers, also on a visit to the city, stepped in and held Henderson down until Atlanta police arrived.
If those heroes had not done what they did, that place would not be here today.
Visitors to the site on Friday were breathing a sigh of relief, knowing there almost wasn't anything to visit at all. Tourist Phyllis Moore was nearly moved to tears thinking about what could have happened.
We're on a mission to learn all history, and it's been an eye-opener, and it's been a hard trip.
She and her husband Jim came from Tennessee, where they worked at the ancestral home of President James K. Polk. Safe to say they understand the importance of historic sites like the MLK boyhood home.
From one perspective, it's just a house. But it's a house that tells a story. And to still have this house here, to share the story about it, to think of something like that being jeopardized, to where it's maybe not here for down the road for other people to see, and really embrace and feel this story, I shudder to think.
And speaking about this incident last night, Atlanta's police chief called this site a jewel of the city, and he's absolutely right. They still, though, have not mentioned a motive for this suspected crime. We're in the Sweet Auburn neighborhood tonight. Doug Reardon, Atlanta News First.